It's time now for the latest business news with Catherine Bennett, who joins me here in the studio. And Catherine, you're starting with what should be the final chapter in a corruption saga involving the American bank Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs has agreed to pay nearly $3 billion to end a probe into its actions in Malaysia's 1MDB corruption scandal. With this payment, the investment bank is hoping to put the affair behind it. The bank's CEO, David Solomon, whose pay will be cut this year because of the scandal, has had his first 2 years in the role tarnished by the controversy. Camille Nedelec has the latest on this story.
Good afternoon.
It was a record-breaking crime that gets a record-breaking punishment. Goldman Sachs will have to pay a penalty of $2.9 billion over its role in the 1MDB scandal, which saw the investment firm siphon billions of dollars out of an economic development fund set up by the Malaysian government.
Today's resolution is significant. It includes criminal charges against the bank and a guilty plea by its Malaysian subsidiary. It imposes serious consequences that reflect the central role that Goldman and its employees played in this serious scheme.
1MDB was a multi-billion-dollar fund created by the Malaysian government to boost economic development. In 2012 and 2013, Goldman Sachs was paid over $500 million in fees for its work in helping the fund to raise cash by issuing and selling bonds. That fee was one of the largest profits ever made by a US company through foreign bribery. The 1MDB fund was used to bribe officials around the world and to line the pockets of the Malaysian government and senior Goldman bankers. Despite the damage to the firm's reputation, its long-term finances still look solid.
Goldman Sachs brings in about $5 billion a quarter in profits. It varies depending on how the season goes for investment banking. But this is a chunk of change, but it's not going to bankrupt Goldman Sachs.
The bank is keen to draw a line between the old guard and the new, as it claws back over $100 million in pay and bonuses from executives who were in charge at the time of the scandal.
Staying with the business news, the US government is facing a lawsuit from the country's biggest retailer, Walmart. Catherine, what's this lawsuit about?
Well, it's about the opioid crisis in the US. Walmart is suing the government as a kind of preemptive tactic. The retailer says that the US Department of Justice is threatening to hold Walmart pharmacists partly responsible for the opioid epidemic, and it wants a court to rule on the matter. Thousands of Americans have died in the opioid crisis, caused at least in part by doctors issuing prescriptions for strong opioids that pharmacists then filled out. But Walmart says that its pharmacists were put in an impossible position. They're being blamed for filling out these prescriptions that the government says should not have been filled, but if they refuse to fill out a prescription, they risk losing their license. Now we can take a look at how the markets are ending the week. European markets mostly opening higher today. The FTSE has gained 0.25%. The CAC 40 also up by 0.17%, and the DAX has just slipped under the flat line. In Asia, stocks are mixed. The Nikkei and the Hang Seng Index have moved higher by 0.5%, and the Kospi in Seoul has risen 0.25%. However, mainland China stocks dropping a little, with the Shanghai Composite down almost 1%.
OK, let's move on now. Britain has signed its first major post-Brexit trade deal, and that's with Japan.
Yes, well, the deal doesn't do a whole lot that's new. It essentially recreates the existing EU-Japan trade deal, albeit with additional rules on agricultural exports and digital trade. But it will be seen as a success by the UK government, proof that Brexit Britain can strike out on its own. It's also considered the first step towards UK membership of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would open up the UK to deeper trade within the region.
Now, Catherine, one industry has benefited from the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and that industry is the toy industry.
Yes, which isn't really a surprise when you think about it. With these children cooped up inside because of these lockdowns across the world, parents are, of course, searching for ways to occupy them, and that means buying more toys. MATTEL, the company that makes Barbies, has seen its biggest increase in quarterly sales in a decade. Dolls were its best-selling product in the third quarter this year, with Barbie in particular helping to drive them up 22% year on year. We had a nice picture of Barbie there, actually in a car, driving up those sales. So there you go.
Catherine Bennett with the latest business news. Thank you very much.